Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a vlog. I told you guys I'd shoot one today, later tonight, and stuff like this. So it's about 10:30, no, about 10:41. Here on a Tuesday night, you guys can see, I had a day off because I had a personal day that slash vacation time that I had to burn. So I was gonna not take it and not burn it and relax today and actually get some Christmas shopping done, some more Christmas shopping done, but also just to relax, clean the house a little bit, and stuff like that. We're also getting some of the holiday stuff out and stuff like that. That's gonna go on one of the seats, and stuff like that. But that's not the reason why I wanted to talk to you guys tonight. So, can I prop you guys up against the TV? Hell yeah. Yes, I can. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another one of these and another day in my life. Thought you guys would never hear that ever again. But hello, everybody. Welcome back to a gear change. Kamo's Automotive Radio Show. So, hello, everybody, and tonight was actually a very interesting night, and I actually did something earlier this afternoon that I never thought I'd do. So, yeah, so it is, so this is the evening, and so at 4:05 today, I did something that I thought I'd never do, and that would be to go see a Studio Ghibli movie, a new one for the first time, since it announced its release back in June. It opened 4 days ago, here in the U.S. It's grossed quite a bit of cash. It's, in fact, actually one of the most highest grossing ones in a while. Actually, Spirited Away was the last one. For those of you who don't know what Studio Ghibli is, Studio Ghibli is practically Japan's version of Disney, but with a couple of twists here and there. And instead of Walt Disney, it's done by a man by Hayao Miyazaki. And Hayao Miyazaki, or Miyazaki-san, or Sama, as some people call him, usually he hasn't rolled one out, a brand new one out in a long time. So a lot of his were originally done in the like early 60s. Like, he wasn't, like, Studio Ghibli in one form or another has been around since like the 60s, early 70s. And Miyazaki joined in the mid 80s, like 1980s. I think his first productions were like in the 70s, or like in the late 70s and stuff like that. And then some unofficial ones, but the first ones that he oversaw were done in the mid 80s, starting with Nausicaa, the Value Win. I think there's a couple other ones that he did before that, but to my knowledge, he started in the early 80s. So the modern series we know, has been around since the Dragon Ball era. One second, folks. pardon the interruption for about a minute. I had to wash my hands for a second, and stuff like that. Well, just TMI, I just went to the facilities, so not going into any detail, but I just had to quickly use the facilities. So I arrived at the theater at about 3:46. Bought my tickets at about 3:50, and arrived at the theater about 3:40, and bought my tickets at 3:46. Checked in the ticket at 3:47, and I brought snacks with me. So I don't want to pay a bajillion dollars for something. I got a soda I got a large soda that's $8 now. $8.02. It's $7.90. It's $7.47 or 57 cents, but state tax, food tax, meal tax, whatever the frick it is, tax on another 50 cents, 56 cents. Oh yeah, but tell you this though, that's how much it cost to actually get into the movie. $8.50 to go watch a masterpiece of a movie. And what a masterpiece it was. Now, I have not seen too many. Now, this year I've actually broken out and busted out and seen a couple. So I saw Nausicaa. So I saw Nausicaa of the Wind Valley, which was redubbed, which was dubbed here in North America in 2005, even though there is an English sub version, which I didn't bother watching because the times were odd, stuff like that. I did watch it I did not watch it in English. Just gonna say this now: my parents aren't gonna watch this vlog, so they're probably not gonna go. And I'm not gonna title it as such, so they're not gonna be watching my channel. But yeah, I did watch it in Japanese, and the voices were actually very good. None of them I recognize. Now, the English dub has Christian Bale, Mark Hamill, and a bunch of other good people. But I've already heard Christian Bale's voice. I've already heard Mark Hamill's voice. I don't need to listen to Batman, and I need to listen to something different. And the voices weren't actually annoying. I'm just going to say this. They actually got decent voices. The male voice actors were pretty decent, and the female voice actors were actually pretty tame. It wasn't Chi-Chi or Bulma levels of Japanese Goku levels of screaming. They weren't screaming at the top of their lungs. I mean, they did yell once or twice, but they were very tame. And the girls who actually played these, the girl who played this fire spirit girl, or this lady Mimi, was played by this singer, and you could tell she had decent vocal range because when singers actually voice act, they actually do very well and actually sound very good. For those of you who want to know what I'm talking about, watch GX in Japanese. The voice actor in Japan for Jaden Yuki is Ken or Kenichiro They call him Ken. He's a J-pop star. He's a Japanese rock star. He's actually pretty good. I've actually heard a couple of his songs. Do you guys want to give him a listen? He's actually very cool. Actually, I like his songs. His songs are pretty good. I've actually had to get the lyrics translated a little bit to understand what he was saying, but fun fact, he actually sings one of the closing themes for for GX in the second season, and he definitely had a decent vocal range. Like, he definitely could tune his voice, because and I'll get back to, like, early in the season, he's kind of early in season 1, he's kind of a happy-go-lucky slacker type thing who just complains about schoolwork and does nothing but just snack or sleep or eat. And then second half of the first season, he gets more serious. Life and death is upon them. He will lose his soul. For those of you who didn't watch GX, second season, he gets way more serious. And then third season, where everything completely falls apart for him. Once he gains the Supreme King, he kind of gets the baseline for Ken. Kind of gets that baseline for season 4, Jade, and then in season 4, when he fuses with Yubel, because Yubel and Jaden's Supreme King sides are one and the same, so he gets a deeper voice, he gets a wilder hairdo and all that other stuff. So singers usually do very good. So I think I forget the name of the voice actress. I think it's Amy Arroyo or Amy. I'll have to look it up, and stuff like that. You guys can look it up on Google, pretty much. But she actually is a J-pop star. She's a vocalist, I think, which helps. And she has a very good voice, and she helps Mahito Taki, our protagonist, a couple of times. Usually, here's the weird thing about Miyazaki's films. So in Stan Lee's comics and in Akira Toriyama's comics, or in the DC comics, or the Marvel and DC comics, the MCU, the DC extended universe, the Marvel extended universe, all these crazy things, not yada yada yada. Usually, it's the guy who saves the girl. Other way around in the Ghibli routine. Usually, it's like Mahito actually can actually fend for himself in this movie, but he's almost about to get eaten by these. He's almost in, like, part way through the movie. He's about to get attacked. He gets attacked. Mahito gets attacked. Mahito gets attacked like a couple of times, and Mimi, or Lady Mimi, has to come up. No, Lady Hime, not Mimi. Lady Hime has to come up and spit fire and save his ass a few times. He does this when pelicans. She does this when pelicans are. Well, she doesn't. Well, actually, no. She saves these wara, these big floating footballs of water, footballs made out of water. And then when he's about to get eaten by these man-eating parakeets, she pops up and fries them all. She pops up and fries them all. And then eventually he has to return the favor and save her. Which most of Miyazaki's leading ladies do. Usually the guy. Usually they do it. I mean, they do it in. They do it in the very first one. Nausicaa actually saves the fighter pilot, the kid who's the fighter pilot. They save him, and he saves her later, I guess, from something else. Spirited Away. Chihiro, or Sen, as she's known because she has like two syllables taken away. Usually, she actually, he helps her adapt to the new. If the girl is younger and she's just getting, if the girl's younger and she's just getting, used to things, and stuff like that. Like that doesn't happen in Kiki's Delivery Service. I believe Kiki saves the kid who makes the bike in the end after he hits the dirigible. After he hits the dirigible and he almost crashes, you know. So that actually happened. That's kind of his formula. The leading lady the leading guy will usually help the girl out, and the leading lady will help the guy out in some way. So the guy out in some way. It's just not the guy comes to the. It's just not the man comes to the rescue. They actually are. They're actually very strong-willed and independent. And the women in his films are strong and independent. Kind of makes sense. I kind of now actually kind of get where April actually gets some of her mannerisms a little bit from, because there's a few times where she saved my ass a few times, and she's a strong, independent lady. And I'm proud of that. So, kind of get where she gets it from a little bit. That kind of reminds me of her a little bit. Some of the female characters remind me of her a little bit, which is why I like watching them. And a lot of people say they're garbage, but they're really not. The story was really good. I'm going to say that the story was really, really good. It's a coming-of-age tale, and it's kind of a coming-of-age tale, and it's set during the Second World War, and Mahito loses a parent. I think it's his mother, I believe, in a fire. I think it's implied at the beginning that he's on this road to regaining, things, and the whole nation is on the road to regaining their health, in their status. There are reminders that there was a war going on in Japan when the Allies showed up, that being the U.S., when they came to attack after Pearl Harbor in 1941, and this was around the time we started to island hop in the Pacific, in the South China Sea, in the Pacific, in the Japanese Isles back then. So there is quite a bit of World War II history in there, and it's kind of they don't show a heck of a lot of going on. They don't show a heck of a lot of the war going on. They'll show his dad. Like they'll show his dad, Soichi. He's a factory. He's a factory owner who makes parts for aircraft. And I kind of found out, I was kind of reading on the film after I watched it a couple hours ago. Miyazaki drew this one from the heart a little bit, because his father used to work in a factory, and I think he was head of one of the factories that made parts for the Zero planes that the Japanese sent to fight our P-51 Mustangs in the Pacific when we were trying to go up against them. So I kind of like it that Miyazaki drew from his personal drew from his personal life and his personal memories, and as one of his, I think this might be his final one. This might be his final one unless he has a successor, which he might, or he just might kill it off. It's kind of like Walt Disney a little bit. There's Walt Disney movies that do come out. Walt Disney movies do come out. They come up with, but the concepts in these new ones are completely different, and they're not, and they're completely different from the originals and stuff like that. Whereas Miyazaki kind of stuck with it. No discredit to Disney, Disney kind of comes up with these really comes up with it. It's kind of like the whole DreamWorks. It's kind of how the whole DreamWorks thing, how the DreamWorks pictures kind of, and then there's Disney, DreamWorks, and a couple other ones. But I liked the story. The story was really well done. The fantasy sequences were really good. And the theme of the movie is kind of having a building your world free of problems and greed and all this other stuff, and we actually find out that, and it all starts when Mahito Taki actually bumps into a tower. And bumps into a tower that his granduncle constructed many years ago. And he also runs into this gray blue heron that's been flying around him ever since his mother died. And you come to find out it's actually a guy in a heron's body. And when they actually go to the fantasy world, the heron actually turns into a guy, this big plump old guy, and he in a costume. And then when he goes back to the real world, he just turns back into a heron. Although he can turn back into a heron in some sequences, the animation's great. As I said, animation's great. There's no sudden scares. There's no sudden animation. It's all deliberate, which is very good. Studio Ghiblis are usually well paced in terms of their animation. There's nothing really. There's really nothing cautious. There's no flashing lights. There's no sensory overload. I felt relaxed during the whole movie, and I felt really relaxed during the whole movie, so I could sit there and enjoy it. And I felt good that it was, and I actually felt good that I was able to relax there were some parts that I could laugh at, and there were some parts that I could there was some parts that I could laugh at, and then there were some parts where I was stunned, where I was stunned, and just overall really good. Just a really good overall thing, and it's kind of in the pursuit, in the hope that Mahito kind of finds out that his mother is still alive, and he his mother is still alive. Now they're not talking about now he had a mother that died in the fire, but he's also talking about his the mother that he ends up marrying. Mahito's father, Sochai, ends up marrying one of his mother's sisters, and and you get a brief glimpse of his mother in a sort of a clone like form towards the middle of the movie. The movie's 2 hours and 5 minutes long, which was actually a very good length, so you could space things out and stuff like that. But he's trying to find his other mother that has been living with them, and you think it's the one that just died, but no, he's trying to acknowledge, because most of the film he really hasn't acknowledged Dad's new wife, his father's new wife, as his mother. He's just he just calls her by her name. I think it's Natsuko or something. I think it's not Suko or Natsuku or something like that. He really doesn't say her by. He doesn't really call her mother, or he doesn't say mother until. He really doesn't say the word mother until like halfway through the movie, and then he acknowledges that she's mom and stuff like that, because it's kind of grief, because it's kind of, he's a young kid. I think he's like 10, 11 years old. I think he's like 12 years old. He loses his mom, and he's still getting over the grief. And there's some humor, like there's 8 maids in the house. They're all old biddies. They're old ladies, and they're always gossiping, and they're getting pissed at this one guy who has cigarettes, because you got to remember, this is the war, and back in the Second World War, supplies were kind of very limited back then. So goods like tobacco and cigarettes, which this other guy has, they're always taking pot shots at him verbally. They're like, "Oh, you have cigarettes, you greedy bastard! Why don't you share?" And they're always gossiping. They're gossiping about stuff, and it's funny, I like the story. It's kind of true to life, and it's kind of true to life, you really, things, something happens to you, and the effect really doesn't set in, and it takes a while for you to get over that. It took Mahito like the whole movie to just sit there and go, "Oh, I want to find my other mother. I want to find my mother." He's not talking about the one that died. He's talking about the one that he's talking about the stepmom instead. Stepmother instead. Stepmom instead. He says, and he keeps saying, "Oh, I want to find Natsuko. I want to find Natsuko," or whatever her name is. He keeps on saying, "Oh, I want to find that. I want to find that." And what's funny is there's some symbolism in there too, like he's surrounded by fire and stuff like that, and Himi actually is kind of like the spirit of fire, and it's kind of hilarious because I think Himi is actually, you actually find out in the alternate dimension, you find out that when they change over, Himi, they actually hint that Himi is actually if you kind of look at Himi a little bit, she kind of hints at it. It's not told very well, but I think Himi actually hints that he's actually maybe that he's I'll have to read into it. I'll have to confirm this. I'll put it in the description if I figure this out. But I think Lady Himi is actually Mahito's or Mahito's mother, actually, but very young, because one of the old ladies actually goes into the actually goes into the spirit world, and when she comes back, she's this younger version of herself, and then she turns into one of the older ladies. So my guess is his grand uncle and it's even glaring. Even his grand uncle shows up halfway through and tells him, "You got to continue the legacy of this world." The tower in that movie actually is a portal to another world and stuff like that, because it got destroyed and stuff like that during while it was getting built. A bunch of people died. So the family does actually have a connection to the afterlife, or whatever you want to call it, and the one that the Heron usually runs him into, and it all, and he's, and you think this is all a dream and everything, because in the beginning of the film, right after school, he actually gets into a tussle with one of the boys in with the agriculture people, because they're trying to grow plants and stuff like that, because they can't grow their own stuff. They don't have imports because the ships will get destroyed. So it's kind of like what we did over here. So sort of the agriculture brigade or group ends up attacking him. They end up hitting him, pushing him down. He ends up getting into a little boyhood tussle, and then he takes his rock and hits him over the side of the head, which was the weirdest thing in the world. And I think he proceeded to lose. I think with all that blood, I think he proceeded to lose a little bit. I think he was a little lightheaded the whole movie, because I think he lost his marbles a little bit after getting hot in the head. Because you can see in the film, he takes this big rock with moss on it and he jams it right into the side of his head. You can see a whole pool of blood coming down. Like, he hits himself hard. And throughout the movie, he's all patched up here. He runs a fever, he gets sick, and all this other crap. You actually find out that, and it's just, a lot of people think, I think people are going to have interpretations of it. Maybe it was all a dream. Maybe him losing all the blood. Maybe him losing all the blood in his head made him a little lightheaded. Maybe he was dreaming or something like that. Or maybe he just wasn't right in the head and he was just trying to shut everything out that was happening. So you got to remember, his mother just died and there's a war going on, and his father is barely home. So he's got to, and his father even pays off the school to not even let him participate, because they're not even teaching them anything because it's a war. Like, nothing's going on and stuff like this. Like, everybody is, like, people are going to school, but it's not the same, because they're in the boonies somewhere in the middle of gosh knows nowhere. You're like, you can tell the way everything looks in this village. They're out in the middle of freaking nowhere. they're out in some forest somewhere. It's hilarious. So yeah, I liked the movie. It had great animation. It had great storytelling. It was definitely worth the $8.50 that I did, and it was great to finally see a Miyazaki movie when it was first released here in North America. And do I have the ticket? I do not think I have the ticket. I might have it. I might have it in my coat pocket. Don't know if I'm gonna take it and frame it or anything, but I may have it in my coat pocket. But yeah, I may have it in my coat pocket. I think because yeah, I have it in my coat pocket, but it's definitely gonna be. I think it's his last one because he came out of retirement to do this one, and I think him putting a little personal touch and kind of his stuff from the war. He really did a good job. And I read this after I watched the movie, and so that's why he went this route. He usually draws on inspiration from either his childhood, his adulthood, or something or other, but it usually has something to do with something he's did or something else. And I think he did a very good job. I think based on length, it was very good. The animation was very good. The story was amazing. I thought that the message that it was told was very clear. I mean, yeah, you can persevere through hardships. You can persevere through hardships, and if you have a goal in life, you can go anywhere. So, and it's always good to there's always good something to pursue, and going that it was during the war, and there was a theme of the ideal world because at the time the world wasn't quite ideal back then. So, there's themes of people like rejecting people in the spirit world that he's in, like rejecting, like you don't want to go, like, do you want to really go back there, that wretched life? Do you really want to go back there? And and I think he makes the right decision in going back to his own world because he had a mission. He doesn't want to stay there, and he made a difference, and he did very well. I think it was a very good movie. I give it a 10 out of 10. And so I've seen Spirited Away. I've seen Nausicaa of the Wind Valley. I've seen Neighbor Totoro. I'm currently in the middle of watching Princess Mononoke at the moment. And I've also watched The Boy and the Heron. So I've actually gotten the chance to watch 5 of these movies, and I kind of see why a lot of anime lovers like these movies, and I can see why April loved them because it's definitely it's a relaxing movie. It will stun you. It's a relaxing movie to watch. It will stun you. It'll hit you like a ton of bricks during certain sequences, but it was overall a good buy. It's definitely $8.50 well spent. Actually $16.50. Well, actually $16.52 if you don't discount the stupidly big soda I drank, and I'm probably not going to drink any sugar for the next couple of days. Thank you to that one. But yeah, I had fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Sorry this was a long talk, but I really liked that movie. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you, and good night.